Hello and welcome to the autoX show. On the show today, the all-new Hyundai Venue takes on its compact SUV rivals, and the all-new BMW X5 takes on the Audi Q7. But first, here's the Hyundai Venue versus its compact SUV rivals.
In the last couple of months, we have seen automobile sales plummeting, but this hasn't discouraged the companies at all, as we have seen two new compact SUVs recently launched, like the Hyundai Venue and the Mahindra XUV300. The only company that is taking a watch and wait approach is Tata Motors, and the Nexon needs a facelift as well. Now, speaking of the Venue, like any Hyundai product, it has created a lot of buzz in the market. But a genuine question does arise. Is the 88 bhp 1.4-litre diesel engine powerful enough?
That's actually a very legitimate question, Dhruv. But I have driven this car out on the highways in the Northeast, and I had a whole lot of fun. There were twisty mountain roads, uphill sections, and true, 88 bhp is a bit less, and this is evident at times. But out on the highway, when you start driving this car, it actually delivers fairly well out on the road, and it's a very nice car to drive. So this, in fact, is going to be a very interesting comparison test, because while this car may be low on power, on paper, I think it's going to deliver very well in the real world. But unfortunately, in this compact SUV comparison test, we don't have our previous winner of this segment, the Ford EcoSport. And that's because, unfortunately, Ford India doesn't have an EcoSport in their test fleet anymore. Now, be that as it may, let's get behind the wheels of these cars and see what they're like to drive. And why don't you start off with the Venue?
That's right. Let's not waste any time and find out if this segment is gonna get a new leader. We're driving the Hyundai Venue, and you can see the quality and the materials used in the cabin is top class. It's also class leading. The dashboard plastic quality is solid build, but if you need to scratch the surface, the door panels could have been a bit better as they feel flimsy. But the door handles come with leather finish, which is quite a classy touch. Now, coming to the 8-inch infotainment system, it looks gorgeous, and this horizontal shape makes it stand apart. Now, it comes with a lot of features, especially connectivity features. Now, the Venue comes with an embedded SIM card, which ensures that all the connectivity features are always on. And this lets you remotely switch on and off the AC, the engine, and also tells you the location of the car. As a compact SUV, the space is limited, and this is quite evident if you're sitting in the back. As mentioned earlier, we are driving the diesel variant. So how does the 88 bhp actually translate in real-world driving conditions? Well, to start with, it's not an enthusiast's car. There is a lag that can be felt till 1800 RPM. But even after that, when the turbo kicks in, it still lacks that punch which you would like. Once the Venue crosses the 2000 RPM mark, that's when you feel the car is moving a bit faster. But keep in mind, you have to stick to the 4th gear. Now, coming to the ride quality, we did feel that the suspension setup was a bit more to the firmer side. It is not as jarring as, let's say, the Vitara Brezza, but yes, you do feel the thud. But on the hindsight, this suspension setup ensures that the Venue doesn't get nervous while it takes corners and provides you with a lot of confidence and control.
Now, when you step out of the Hyundai Venue and move into the XUV300, you aren't really disappointed at all, because this is a very nice cabin. As I've mentioned before, the top portion of this dash is what really works for this car, because everything looks nice, it feels premium, and on the whole, it does feel like an expensive car. But when you move lower down, the switchgear over here isn't of such high quality as the rest of the car. You notice that the car has dual zone climate control, but there's only a single fan speed for both occupants, so that's quite something, because with dual zone climate control, each occupant should be getting their own fan speeds technically. Moving on, I love these seats as well. They're very well bolstered, they're extremely supportive, they feel very comfortable, and they lend to the overall high-rent feel of this cabin as well. There's plenty of space up front, there's good space at the back, spec for 2 occupants only, but again, you're a little short of under thigh support at the back. But moving on to how this car drives, well, I'm sure you've watched our previous comparison videos in which we have mentioned that this is the most powerful compact SUV out there. Now, there's a very good way to describe this car. It's all about the turbo. Well, that could be its catchline actually, because once this turbo spools at 1500 RPM, you just pin to your seat as the XUV just catapults forward. Having said that, the engine is mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox. Now, the clutch is a little light and springy and the throws are long again. But this all-powerful trait of the XUV is very limited in its nature, because the power band in fact is quite narrow. It's from 1500 to about 3500 RPM. So that's the prime operating space for this engine. That's when you can extract the most amount of power from it. But you know, when you're above or below that range, that's when throttle response is actually lackluster. That in fact also betters fuel efficiency for cars. Now, like the XUV, the Nexon 2 has a recently developed 1.5 litre turbo diesel engine. Now, this unit feels very quiet and very refined from the get-go. In fact, the clutch pedal is very light, the steering is very light, and on the whole, the Nexon feels very easy to drive. Only complaint, well, the clutch is a little springy in nature, there's a lot of travel in it, and the gear throws are a little long as well. Now, the Nexon comes with 3 driving modes: Eco, City and Sport. Eco mode is a bit dull, throttle response is very muffled and it can get a little frustrating to drive. So you can just switch over to City mode, and that gives you very adequate performance to drive around in urban driving conditions. In fact, as well as out on highways. Now, driving in a relaxed manner results in turbo lag being very well masked. So in fact, when the turbo comes on at 1500 RPM, when you get full boost of 260 Newton meters, it doesn't kick in all of a sudden, so you get this nice seamless surge, which is very nice. And then when you switch over to sport mode, that's when you get a real kick in your back acceleration. These electronic gadgets work so well, you know, throttle response really opens up. You get much sharper throttle response in sport mode, and that is when you can feel all of 108 bhp kick in, and the Nexon's diesel engine has a very nice meaty mid-range. But straight line speeds are only one side of the story. The Nexon also sits very well on the road. It has a wide stance. Chassis and suspension are very well balanced. It gives you plenty of confidence out on the road to carry out high speeds. And you know, when you're going over high speed bends as well, Nexon feels like it has plenty of grip at all times. That's how good the Nexon chassis is. But I'm afraid when you come over to the steering wheel, it feels a bit wooden. There's no real feedback here. And you really do wish, you know, there was a more connected steering experience in this car to complement its otherwise superb handling nature.
We're driving the Maruti Suzuki Vitara Brezza, which is the highest selling compact SUV in the country. Now, what we like about this SUV is that it is the most rugged piece of machine that you can buy in this segment. So why do we say it has a rugged feel? Well, it's more to do with that mechanical feel that you get. Like for instance, the 89 bhp 1.3 litre diesel engine, you can hear it humming in the cabin. The other thing that we love about the Brezza is its steering wheel. It is extremely direct and provides you with a lot of feedback. Unfortunately, what the Brezza always suffered is harsh ride quality. Well, it's a double-edged sword because it handles like a charm, it takes corners like go-karts, and you will not be able to stop smiling. But the person who's sitting in the back, in the rear seats, well, he'll have a tough time because he'll be bouncing all over the place, especially when you're going over broken roads. So as much as we love the Brezza, unfortunately it is a bit one-dimensional and doesn't strike the balance between handling and comfort. The other thing that's showing its age is the 1.3 litre diesel engine. It's still fun to drive. It has a turbo lag till 1750 RPM, but then after that it just shoots up. It's like a rocket, the Brezza goes. After driving these SUVs for an entire day, I still believe that the Brezza is the enthusiast choice. It handles so well and it even drives pretty decently. Yes, there is a bit of a lag, the initial lag is there, but then after that the power boost comes in. I would still say it is the enthusiast choice. What do you think?
Absolutely. It has a very strong engine, you know. Of course, there's a bit of turbo lag and high NVH is also a problem. But the way this car pushes to 5,000 RPM, there's nothing else like it over here. So out and out real world performance, I think the Brezza is absolutely fantastic. Another positive note which I'd like to end on for the Brezza is that it has a 4-star global NCAP safety rating. But speaking about safety, it's a Tata Nexon that has a 5-star global NCAP safety rating. In fact, it is the first Indian car to have that higher safety rating. So on those grounds, I think Tata has really outdone themselves. But you know, overall, when you look at the Nexon as well, I think it's a very well-rounded product. It drives well, it has plenty of cabin space. In fact, realistically, it has the most amount of cabin space in the segment.
I completely agree with you on that front, but the Nexon also provides excellent ride quality. The soft suspension setup is ideal for our conditions. Apart from the soft suspension, it doesn't compromise on handling. It remains stable on high speed and at the same time takes on corners like nobody's business. But honestly, when we talk about performance, it has to be the XUV300. It is the most powerful SUV in the segment, offers 118 bhp. But the only issue here is that it's got a prominent lag. But on a daily basis, when you drive this SUV, you need to work around the boost. But when it comes to performance, it easily leads the pack.
Speaking about performance, the XUV is actually the only car here to come with 4 disc brakes to rein in all that power. So that again is a positive for the XUV. The only thing I have a bit of an issue with on the ground of performance with the XUV is in terms of body roll. You know, when you're carrying serious speeds around bends, you can feel that weight shift in the XUV. The other aspect again on the grounds of limitations, unfortunately, is the small boot. At 257 liters, it's really tiny. If you're going to take your compact SUV out on road trips with your friends, you're going to be tight on luggage space. But speaking about road trips, I have taken the Venue on a nice long highway drive in the Northeast, and you know, that's when I noticed how well this car drives. Of course, it's only got 88 bhp on paper, but I think you know, the way this engine has been tuned is very good. There's linear drivability offered by it, and on the whole, realistically, it offers very good performance. In fact, I even like the way it handles, you know, around high speed and sharp bends. The Venue remained poised at all times. It's great around high speed bends as well. But the only thing I felt, you know, I was on a very good road, so there were no bumpy roads, there were no bad roads. But over some expansion joints, I felt that the ride is a bit stiff. What do you feel? You've driven this car around the city now a little bit too.
That's true. The ride quality is on a firmer side and it is quite pronounced when you go over a ditch. So yes, the rear passengers can feel a bit uncomfortable. Nothing like the Brezza, of course. But what stands out about the Venue is that it provides one of the most comfortable seats in this segment. Apart from being good-looking vehicles, now this segment is bringing in connectivity features. Therefore, these SUVs, especially the Venue, is one smart SUV.
Yes, absolutely. Apart from these cars becoming very smart now, I believe the end conclusion of this comparison test has to be that the Venue is the absolute winner here. You know, make no mistake, all of these cars have their strong points as we brought them out, and of course the limitations. But the Venue now is beginning to feel like the best overall package here. It's comfortable, it drives very well, it's a great looker, it's got a range of features and connectivity features, some of which are segment first. So the Hyundai Venue then has really moved the game forward for compact SUVs.
Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, the BMW X5 takes on the Audi Q7. Welcome back to the autoX show. Now the all-new BMW X5 has finally been launched in our market. And here it takes on a model that has come to define the luxury SUV segment, the Audi Q7.
So BMW's goal is for the new X5 to be the most complete SUV that you can buy. In fact, this car is not even called an SUV, it's called an SAV, Sport Activity Vehicle. Well, let's keep all the marketing jargon aside and get down to the facts. The fact is, the X5 is a seriously good car. And when it was launched 20 years ago, it changed the game of the SUV market completely. It brought sportiness and performance to the SUV segment. And well, with this new fourth generation of the BMW X5, BMW hopes to reclaim the throne of being the best SUV. But to do that, it's got to beat this, the Audi Q7. Now, the Audi Q7 has been one of the best luxury SUVs for some time now. This is the second generation that we've got. In fact, this car is about 3 years old, and the latest update was about a few months earlier this year when they brought in the Lifestyle Edition. Still though, this car has got some old technology compared to the new X5, but still it's packed with all the features you would want in a luxury SUV. Anyone who's looking to buy a luxury SUV obviously wants the best quality, the best comfort, and of course the best new technologies. So as you would expect, the Q7 comes with all the features that you would want in a luxury SUV. It's got air suspension, everything's electronically adjustable inside, it's got LED lights, all the safety technology as well. But what makes this car really special then? Well, for one, the Audi Q7 comes with the Quattro full-time all-wheel drive system, and that does wonders for the car. But still, this car is very comfortable to drive. The air suspension works so well in this car. It just rides almost like a boat, like a yacht. It's so smooth. Then of course you have Audi Drive Select, and there are multiple driving modes you can choose from. And even though this is a luxury SUV, the Q7 still has a lift off-road driving mode, and that actually raises the car up to its highest capacity, so you have a great ground clearance. Then of course you've also got an all-road feature, you've got comfort, you've got auto, dynamic, and of course it comes to individual, so you can set up the engine and gearbox to whatever setting you like, the air suspension and the steering. So if you don't like any of those modes and you want to toggle between a few of them, you can do that. But what really shines in the Q7 has to be the engineering. Now this engine is a 3-liter turbo 6-cylinder engine, and it is beautiful. And it gets about 250 brake horsepower with 600 Nm of torque. That is plenty of power for you to move this massive 2-ton SUV around. But the refinement levels are just phenomenal. Even though this is a 3-year-old vehicle, it still drives like it's brand new. I mean, any surface you're on, especially on the highway, I have to say this car feels so well refined, and which adds to the comfort and luxury quotient, because when you're driving in this car, you feel so relaxed and comfortable. Even though it's got a lot of power and torque, it doesn't feel like it's going so fast because it's very quiet in the cabin, and the engine noise is drowned out by the opulence of this beautiful, beautiful setting. And even though the throttle response is quick and the car picks up speed very well, you just don't feel like it's a fast car. But this car doesn't want to be that. This car wants to be a luxurious, smooth operating, absolutely brilliant riding SUV. And that's why the Q7 is such a phenomenal machine, because it can do almost anything you want it to do, and it can do it so nicely, so smoothly, so effortlessly. Now, because of all of this, if the Q7 is still the king of the luxury SUV segment, the X5 needs to have something really extra special. Well, the car's just been launched, and this car's 3 years old. So what edge does the X5 have over the Q7? So let's just start with the key of the BMW X5. Now this key here looks very futuristic. And if you look at this, it almost seems like this car would win any comparison we make with the Audi Q7. Well, that's because this is almost like a smartphone. It's got a touchpad, you can swipe up and activate it, and you can swipe left and right to see a lot of the control systems, and you can even monitor what's happening with your vehicle. Now that's pretty futuristic if you ask me. And when you finally get inside the XV, you can tell that this car is dramatically changed. There's been so much new done to this vehicle. First of all, it's bigger and the cabin space has been improved. But besides that, the quality and the improvements of this cabin are fantastic. The dash layout is very nice. It's driver focused. Everything is facing towards the driver. I love the detailing, and this wood veneer looks absolutely beautiful. It's got nice crystal on the gear lever, and on the toggle switch as well. So it's got that very classy, luxurious tone set inside here. The BMW X5 is always meant to be a sporty SUV that can do almost anything. And that's because it drives more like a sedan than an SUV. And that's how this car changed the entire game. Well, the car here today gets the same engine as the Q7. It's a 3-liter V6 diesel turbo. This engine gets more power though. It gets about 265 brake horsepower and 620 Newton meters of torque. But still though, this engine feels a lot more responsive. There are of course different driving modes and you can select how you want the car to perform. The steering is much more responsive. I like the way it's weighted. It feels just right. It even feels better on your hands the way it's designed. I love the way it drives. I love the way the engine responds. And in sport mode, the throttle is instantaneous and I can just press down and get as much as I want from the engine. The steering feels super good and it's very instinctive towards my driving style, so I love the way it performs. And I have to say the chassis of the X5 is just fantastic. Now this new engine has become much more refined than the previous generation X5. This one feels very smooth and the ride quality is fantastic. And now also for the first time the X5 gets air suspension. And it doesn't just get it at the rear, it gets it at the front as well. Now again, the overall driving dynamics of the X5, they far exceed the Q7 in terms of responsiveness, in terms of agility, and in terms of the power. Everything comes into play much nicer and you really get to feel everything about this car that's working in your favor, especially when you want to throw it around in twisty sections. It handles so nice. Even though this car is heavy, it handles really well, much better than the Q7. So overall, I think this car is a much better driver's car. And that's how BMW has always been since the inception of the X5. Now, coming to the features of this car, there are so many features. Of course, you have gesture control, so I can control the volume here with just the movement of my hands. And it's got voice control, it's got wireless phone charging, and it's got a bunch of other safety features that work really well, such as the cornering ABS. And then of course it's got this very nice parking assist system. So in all honesty, anyone looking to buy any of these cars is most probably not going to be in the driver's seat. In fact, they're going to be chauffeured around and they're going to be sitting nice and comfortably back in the rear seats. Well, in that department, I have to say the Audi Q7 really does excel. It's a very comfortable car, so much room, plenty of leg room, plenty of headroom, and you sit very nicely and comfortably. The seats are very nice, and you've got your AC vents back here, you've got a nice sunroof. Overall, it's a very roomy car and the quality levels are fantastic. Now, when you get into the X5, the story changes just a little bit. The new X5 is a little bit bigger, of course, but when it comes to interior space and comfort, it just doesn't add up to the Q7. Sure, it's nice in here, it's got a lot of headroom, you've got the nice sunroof and you got the AC vents as well with storage compartments, but the seat just is not as nice as the Q7. Overall, the quality also does seem a little bit better in the Q7, but still the BMW X5 is more of a driver-focused car, but still, even if you're going to be in the backseat of this car, it doesn't fare well compared to the Q7. Now both these cars are fantastic in their own right. They are some of the best luxury SUVs you can buy. The BMW though has the advantage that it was just launched last year globally. In India it was just launched 2 months ago. But the car is fantastic, it's been improved significantly over the previous model and it can do so much. The Q7 though is still a little bit more refined, it has better quality and it's much more comfortable on the inside. Still though, the Q7 is going to get an update very soon and Mercedes-Benz is going to bring the GLE next year as well. So competition is heating up and you can expect the same amazing technology featured in this car coming up in those SUVs as well. But if you're looking to get your hands on one car right now, in my opinion, the X5 is a much better driver's car. But if you want to sit down, relax and enjoy the ride, the Q7 still reigns supreme.
Well, that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you for joining us. Remember, it's chaos out there, so always buckle up and wear your helmets. We'll see you again next weekend on the autoX Show.